All right, here we go. Hey everyone, my name is Randy Denton, and I'm here with my good friend Sonia Burns, and we are both health coaches, certified health coaches, through the Center for Obesity Prevention and Education through the Villanova University School of Nurses. Tonight we're going to talk to you about deconstructing your cravings. It's a heck of a topic, don't you think, Sonia?
Yes, it sure is. It's a very good one, though. One we need to talk about more often.
So let's get right into it. And what we'd like you to do while you're listening is if you can get a pen and piece of paper, take some notes. And if you have any questions, we're going to record this and put this on our YouTube site. And we'd love to get your feedback. So hopefully you'll get something, a few good takeaways out of tonight's conversation. And we'll hope to continue to do more of these. So let's switch this over. Sonia, I'm going to turn this on to you, and let's get started. Okay.
Got it. So,
all right, go ahead. Can you see that, Sonia?
yeah, I can. So craving, deconstructing cravings. Why don't we go to the next slide, Randy? The craving community. Yeah, one more. There we go. So craving communications. Your body tells you when to breathe. It tells you your body tells you when you're hungry. Oftentimes we don't even listen to when we're hungry and we just eat simply automatically. But our bodies are an intuitive instrument telling us those things that we need to do. So it's really important for us to understand that we have the same capacity and the same capability for our body to listen to our bodies, and our cravings are a way of communicating with us. What is it that we need on a physical level to help us balance, mind, body, spirit, emotion, that sort of thing. So that's a lot about what craving communication is all about. It's about listening to your body, learning. What we're going to talk about a lot tonight is just learning about the different signals that your body is going to give you and why, and so they give you a little deeper understanding so you have some awareness. So when you go into your life, you'll have a better idea of, oh, is this a craving? What's going on here? And so you'll be able to have more awareness and understanding on that. So this is a good thing to take notes on for today. Okay, why we crave. Do you want me to do this one, Randy, or would you like to?
Sure, I'll take it. So cravings are one of the many ways our bodies communicate the things that we need to be healthy. Regardless of what the craving is, most often the root of it can be attributed to one of several primary causes. We're going to go through these in the next few slides, but dehydration, your lifestyle, ancestry, believe it or not, our traditional roots and genetics, seasonal time of the year will affect your cravings. Also, the lack of nutrition. So various things that our body is lacking will cause us to crave as well, along with hormones and the old standby self-sabotage. We have many self-sabotaging components, and we'll talk about these in more detail. So this is a great one, Sonia. Go ahead and tackle the.
You do this one, and then we'll go every other.
So the almighty hydration. I could spend a lot of our time just discussing the importance of staying hydrated. Wouldn't you agree, Sonia?
Yeah, absolutely. This is so important. I think this is one of the first things as health coaches that we teach our people. We teach you to, right out of the gate, drink more water, drink more water.
Yes, and after all, water is needed for every cell that we have in our body. And it's also needed to help maintain our proper functioning, along with recycling the the proper fluids that we have in our system. So staying hydrated is a crucial part of our daily health. If you lose water in a lot of different ways throughout the day. You can lose it through breathing, sweating, and digestion. Yet your body doesn't even send the "I'm thirsty" signals to you until you are at 98% dehydration level. So it's pretty hard to believe. So in a lot of cases, dehydration itself can mask hunger. It does seem to come up as a feeling of being hungry. So what we recommend that you do, if you're starting a craving, the first thing that I do is actually take a glass of water. Start with your hydration, fueling your body with water, and then see how your body reacts to it within a couple minutes. And it may be just the fact that you are dehydrated and not hungry. It's a pretty simple remedy.
Yes, and also on a yogic standpoint, I like to tell people to drink water instead of coffee, because water is going to energize you and make you feel good. So that's another nice thing about water. So holistically fulfilled. So the next reason that our body has communications is lifestyle. Lifestyle. What's your lifestyle like, and what kinds of things are you going to crave? Has a lot to do with what's going on in your life. Like, I'll just give you a perfect example. Sweets are something that a lot of society craves because sweets are grounding, and in our busy lifestyle, the sugars, we crave sugar because it's going to give us energy, and because it's going to help to ground us, and that's just a perfect example of having a busy, stressed out lifestyle and wanting sweets. But there's a lot of other things as well that we crave in our life to help maintain balance at any given moment, whatever we happen to be going through. So we're going to actually go through a lot of those today and what they mean when you crave them at times. But it's an important thing to reflect on. You reflect on your relationship with food, and ask yourself, are you fulfilled? Sometimes food will have a tendency to fill a hole. How are your relationships? How is your career? Do you have purpose? Do you have value in life? Do you feel happy with your family life? So these are all things to reflect and ask yourself about, and be in relationship to, maybe you're trying to fulfill one of those gaps with food, as opposed to fulfilling it on the level of which it's occurring. So lifestyle is a big one. There's a lot of emotional eaters out there, and I think it's just time that we shine a little bit more light onto that and talk about it a little bit more. But okay, Randy.
So there's an emerging research that's showing how even the events of our history and our ancestors that can affect our health today. So generations after the fact, we carry along a lot of habitual tendencies and traditions that are based upon our ancestry. Believe it or not, those can create an element of traditional wanting and cravings for certain type of foods. So when you think about when we were kids, if you had Sunday dinner at your grandmother's and she made that special dish, at certain holidays, the things that you remember as a kid, the things that your families passed along through generations and generations, during certain times of your life, you may find yourself craving those foods. And so that element that you carry along with you from the traditions that you've had generations prior can be a strong influence on the cravings that you carry along as well. So it's just something to be mindful of, and know that the best way to satisfy these cravings is to recreate those cravings for these certain things with maybe other healthier alternatives. Sonia, do you have any cravings based upon traditions in your life? You know, family histories, in things that you've done traditionally with your family.
Well, I guess you could say probably just I have a lot of Irish in me, and I certainly do love potatoes. I know the Irish are big on potatoes, so
That's good.
that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. How about you, Randy?
You know, there's a lot of. I remember as a kid, my grandmother was Polish, so she would make Polish meatballs, and also this secret recipe for stuffing during the holidays. So this sort of leads into our next slide with the seasons of seasons that we go through during the holiday seasons. There's certain foods that I particularly look forward to, or wish I was able to have from years ago when I was a kid.
Yeah, I love it when it's a real fun transition from fall to summer or from fall to winter and winter to spring, because you that first time when you get to turn the oven on, you get to cook some of your nicer, warmer foods. You look forward to those cold, crisp days where you actually get to turn on the oven, and then vice versa. When spring comes along, you want to eat more of those raw vegetables and salads that you would naturally crave. And it's kind of interesting and neat that what our body, usually the springtime is the perfect time to cleanse and detox a little bit. And typically we have cravings for those foods. Those foods are good for us to eat around the springtime of year. Like the greens, the dark greens and the leafy greens and also citrus fruits. Those are good because they bring alkalinity back to the body. And then of course fall, because it's cold and it's windy and it tends to be airy, it's a really good time for us to eat more grounding foods like squashes and nuts. And winter, of course, is that time of year where we kind of hunker down, or we kind of just go inward a little bit on all levels. And we are craving the meats and the heavier foods. And summer is always good for a good old ice cream.
I was going to say, who doesn't crave ice cream in the summertime?
Only if you're lactose intolerant, then does it become a problem.
That's true. That's true.
So seasonal eating is a lot of fun and has its place.
So you may also want to trust the crazy cravings as well. Again, our bodies are incredibly accurate machines. Inadequate nutrition produces cravings for specific things depending on what is needed in our bodies. So, one of the examples that I use is caffeine. That's a big that's a big element in so many people's lives, and a lot of times, the body only craves the caffeine when it's not getting enough energy from other nutritional sources. So of course, first thing in the morning, you wake up, a soothing cup of coffee is for a lot of people something that they crave. And I know me for one that I love my cup of coffee in the morning, and it gives me that that little boost of energy to get me up and going before I get productive. So the same can go for a lack of minerals and salts, like potassium and calcium. This cause of cravings usually produces the ones that we consider out of the ordinary for what we're usually looking to eat. It's a really good opportunity to refine the communication that we have with our bodies by just noticing the things that maybe we are lacking in our lives. So like caffeine, You know, a lot of times I'm feeling like I just don't have enough energy. So the craving of caffeine is going to give me that that boost and that jolt of energy. You know, another thing that I notice too when I'm working out, you know, when I'm sweating, lose a lot of sweat, the salt that comes out of my body. So what I tend to do then is want to crave, salty type of foods like pickles or, like a Gatorade, because I'm going to want to replenish those things that my body has eliminated, or that is now deficient in. So there again, keeping in mind of the deficiencies that your body goes through on a daily basis, now you can understand why certain things will start to draw you towards them. Would you agree?
Yeah. I just recently discovered that watermelon it has natural electrolytes in it, which I thought was pretty neat. So that's a good way to hydrate. And I like the way you talked about the coffee, Randy. You said a soothing cup of coffee. I think there's something to be said about having ritual around food a little bit. Like you put this image in my mind when you said soothing cup of coffee, where you're actually, whether it's coffee or tea, whatever it happens to be, that you're sitting down and you're enjoying it for the moment that you're in. And I think that's important for us to just take a couple minutes just to do that throughout our morning, throughout our day, and just say, you know what, I'm just going to sit and enjoy this before I run out the door or that sort of thing.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Sonia, I'm going to let you take this one over.
Wacky hormones. Oh my goodness. All you ladies out there, I think, I don't mean, no offense to you guys or anything, but us girls, we have a pretty good understanding of wacky hormones. And especially because of, our cycles and everything, we're a little bit more aware of it. I know for sure that time of the month, for me, it's like, I love chocolate. Maybe I'm just fooling myself. I think I really love chocolate all the time. So, but we do have, our hormones are little messengers. They kind of they travel around the body and they communicate, and they give the messages as to what nutrients that we actually need to help all of our systems maintain balance. So there are lots of hormones. There's 50 different types of hormones, and the major role of the hormones is the most major bodily functions, it just helps you, it communicates your body on all levels. So we get very unique cravings. I'm sure everyone's heard the classic, oh, she's pregnant, she's craving pickles. But there's another example of some crazy cravings when it comes to hormones.
So, goodbye to the self-sabotage. De-evolution, or sometimes referred to as the self-sabotage syndrome, means when things are going well, we begin to crave things that send us into an imbalance. The first craving creates another in response to try to balance out the first one. So, that's an interesting component. The self-sabotage syndrome, it can cause cravings with the main goal of backtracking. So if you think about it, I use this as an example. How many times do you, let's say that you're on a weight loss plan, weight loss goal in mindset, and you're looking to maybe lose 10 pounds. How often do you get to that goal of losing weight or losing that 10 pounds, and you celebrate, you feel really good about achieving that goal, and maybe you celebrate with doing what?
Maybe eating chocolate.
Eating the wrong things, or eating the things that that you missed while you were on your path to weight loss. So in a sense, you're celebrating and taking that achievement, but by doing so, you're celebrating with eating something that is backtracking you. It's really interesting. I never believed that this was I never really understood or believed into this concept of this self-sabotage syndrome, but I think it happens to me quite often where I'm feeling really good. Maybe I just achieved something really, a goal, but then I'll immediately go and do something to sort of bring it down, bring it down a notch, like, celebrate with eating ice cream. And then all of a sudden, I'm not feeling so good about myself. Have you ever had that happen, Sonia?
Yeah. I think what's kind of interesting about that too is like we end up resetting our bodies to eat healthy, but then our mind comes back into it and say, "Oh, I'm gonna have that treat," but it's the mind that's saying it and not really the body. So yeah, I think it's funny when that happens, and it happens to me too. So.
Sorry about that. Well, one of the things that this can be a result of is low blood sugar, or a combination of other causes that we have talked about before. But, we can choose not to give into this cycle by ensuring that we're doing some of the things that we talked about, staying hydrated, holistically nurturing ourselves and nutritionally staying nutritionally balanced right from the beginning. So, if you're finding yourself in these cycles of self-sabotage, in utilizing food cravings to as a reaction to this, staying, as I mentioned before, having that, that glass of water, before you indulge in the cravings, just thinking about your mindset, can really make a difference on how that self-sabotage will lead you down and affect you, from at that immediate point. So
you we covered them all. We did it.
We covered them all. Yep.
And just ask yourself at this point in time, did any of those resonate with you? And I'll just read them off real quick again. So hydration, lifestyle, ancestry, seasonal, lack of nutrients, hormones, and self-sabotage. So those are the ones that we had covered. And just give yourself a second to see if any of those resonate with you.
So in with the good, and the bad will leave when there's no more room for it. So that's, one of the things that we talk about is replacing your cravings with something healthier, something that, because your cravings won't necessarily go away, but you can replace your reaction with something healthier. So when you begin to add in more healthier foods, up your water intake, and make sure that you are nurturing the other aspects of your life, you're simultaneously pushing out those unproductive cravings. So while everyone has different cravings, most can be identified in one of the following different categories. And I'm sure, we all have our favorites, but, there's sweet, salty, bitter, pungent, spicy, creamy, crunchy, moist, dry, and light and heavy types of foods that, people crave. And we're just going to run through these and give you some examples of those. Go ahead, Sonia.
Okay, so the first one is sweet, and I think we all know what sweet is. Believe it or not, I know it probably isn't listed on there, but rice is actually sweet. Fruit is sweet. There's certain things that are sweet. I'm not talking sugar sweet. I'm talking natural sugars through fruit, and rice is also considered sweet, believe it or not. But sweet is one of those ones that most of society has a craving for, and it does have a place. It really just feels nurturing. It nurtures the soul. It just calms you down. It makes you feel good. And it's an important one. And here's an interesting fact for you. Sugar is important because it brings the nutrients all the way through the cell to the cellular level. So we just need to be more mindful of it and just eat more natural sweets. I think is better than the processed food that with a lot of artificial sweeteners in it, just in moderation. But it is important because it does bring the nutrition to you on a cellular level.
Yeah, and when these cravings strike for sweets, it's a good it's a good remedy to feed your body with sugar that digests slower. Like nutritional dense vegetables, sweet vegetables, like carrots, beets, winter squash, sweet potatoes. These will actually um, digest a lot slower, will help you feel a lot more satiated from and satisfied, believe it or not, from that sweet craving that the white refined sugars and the baked goods don't give you.
That's very true, and I know that raspberries are high in fiber. So that's one of the most fibrous fruits you can eat too. So you're right, Randy. Knowledge is power on that one.
All right. Let me take this one here. Salt cravings are a really good example of your body. As I mentioned to you about sweating, after a workout. When you're sweating, you're losing the minerals and salts from your body. And those salts help maintain your proper balance, blood pressure, and nerve signals. So to feed this craving and your body's need for more nutrition, you want to skip the processed salty foods and indulge in healthy alternatives. Some alternatives like saltine, roasted vegetables. I know my wife loves to cut up roasted root vegetables and bake them. And if you add a nice dash of sea salt to these roasted vegetables, it's a great way to curb your cravings and provide your body with over 60 trace minerals that you may be missing. If chips are your go-to, try some baked kale chips. They're delicious, salty, and easy to make. Something that you can do in the oven, and believe it or not, they taste great. Sonia, have you ever tried kale chips?
Yeah, actually, I made some yesterday, and I made them in my dehydrator, and I put a special I soaked some cashew nuts and ground them up in the food processor with a few other things, and yeah, so they were pretty good actually, and I liked making them in the dehydrator. I'm really happy that I have that. That's a cool thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So go for the greens. I don't know if you've heard the saying, but in Ayurvedic medicine, bitter is better. So greens are good, especially the darker green, the better it is for you. Spinach and kale, they're very rich in iron. They're a perfect thing to eat in the spring when it's time to detox. They help you to release the acidity, so they make you more alkaline. In general, I think this is one of the big things that we lack as a society. We just don't simply eat enough greens. So the more greens you can eat, the better.
And it helps with your digestion.
Oh yeah, it helps with your digestion too. So you can't go wrong.
Bring the heat. So pungent foods that produce what is called a dry heat are also things that help in your digestion. So a lot of times if you're craving the hot, spicy foods, it could be an element of a digestive deficiency maybe that you're going through. But these cravings are often associated with saucy, takeout type Chinese foods. And this doesn't come much of a surprise since a lot of the ingredients in these meals are very pungent. However, you can fulfill these cravings with incorporating other foods like scallions, onions, leeks, garlic, and spices like cayenne and pepper, instead of the overly salted, high calorie takeout Chinese food. So you're going to get a much healthier option. So give that a try.
Yeah. So Randy, I just have to say that my allergies have been bothering me a little bit. So I was mucusy, a little congested, and I made some vegetables for dinner tonight, and they had a lot of spices on them. So they had cayenne and cumin, and it was a Swiss chard and cauliflower. But it was very, very hot. And after I ate it, I was like, whoa, this is great. It just cleared out my sinuses and everything. So it just goes to show you that, I was craving it. I wanted it. I made it. And I didn't even realize till after I ate it that it was good for my allergies and my congestion. So that's kind of cool. That kind of leads right into spices. I think spicing it up is an important thing for us to do to our food, because it gets boring, and when we're just we got to keep it interesting. And spices, they're fun to play with in different combinations. I really like to do that a lot, and it just helps us to. I think the more flavors that we can get on our palate too, the better it is for our systems, and it's a nice way to do that.
Yeah, and one of the things that spices are cravings for spices are often accompanied by poor circulation, believe it or not.
So that's good.
Instead of using use natural spices in your home for cooking, providing a great effect on your body, versus you can use things like onions and garlic and oregano and basil and cayenne, as opposed to going for those hot Mexican spices, pizza, hot peppers, and hot sauces on the chicken wings. Try to stay with an all natural approach, and just spice up your meals at home with some great things that you grow.
Yeah, spice up your life. Creamy or crunchy? Well, so I think there's some cool things about this. I think, one thing that's interesting, people probably don't necessarily aren't aware of, is that, like, if you're in a high stress situation and you have anxiety, a lot of times people will just need that, they'll need to crunch. So sometimes that can be an indication that you are need that motion or that activity to release stress. But also too, I think another thing is that when we crave the crunchy, because it's dry, maybe we need to dry our systems out for whatever particular reason. And the same thing with creamy. When we crave those creamy, unctuous things, maybe our bodies need that to create the opposite. Right? Isn't that pretty much what?
Absolutely. Well, and similarly, craving moist foods can be a counterbalance of too many dry products. You may even be dehydrated. Yet the want for crispy or dry foods may indicate an overconsumption of liquids like, soups, smoothies, juices. So try adding some texture, some rice cakes and other light dry snacks throughout the day to help offset and combat and balance you out. Heavy or light?
Yes, heavy or light. And it's just kind of the same idea. I think when we need those heavier foods, we need, more grounding in our systems for really crazy, or maybe we just need to. And also, I think too, heavy also goes under the category of oils. I would say omega-3 and omega-6s, because even though they're not heavy necessarily, they are rich in those oil unctuous qualities that we sometimes need. And then light, if we're craving a lot of times we need lightness if we're feeling like lethargic or heavy, or we're in a little bit of a depression or that sort of thing. Those lighter foods are going to help to literally lighten you up.
So forbidding yourself from foods from any type of foods can cause cravings to get even worse. So, but always giving into those cravings can cause, miscommunication with your body. So to break the cycle, you must, think about deconstructing what you're craving. Find it, look for healthier alternatives. It's just about becoming more aware and listening to your body. And know how your foods actually react with you. I love to say, just developing a relationship with food, and what type of relationship do you have with certain foods?
Yes, and also don't forbid yourself certain foods either, because that can be just as detrimental. So everything in moderation, but do treat yourself, but just do it mindfully.
And remember, your body does not make mistakes. There's a reason why it's craving these things, because it is, either lacking or deficient or looking to counterbalance things out. So allowing yourself the understanding that, your body is actually going to allow itself to heal properly. It's going to allow itself to balance nutritionally if you give it that ability and give it that space to do that. So giving into the cravings is not necessarily an element of weakness, but it's just allowing yourself to listen. Wouldn't you agree?
Awesome, Randy. You couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better.
So thank you. This is the end of the class, and if you've got on the class late, we're recording this. We'll love to share this with you. I'm going to have this downloaded and recorded, so we can definitely we'll have this posted to our YouTube site, and we'll make sure that you've got access to that. Thank you for taking the time to attend tonight, and Tanya, thanks for spending some time with me.
Do you want to do we have any questions or anything, Randy? I don't know if we have time for questions or if we have any questions.
Sure. We do. Does anybody have any questions?
You can type them in, I think, right? Or we can unmute you.
Yep.
Hi, Kim. I see your name there. Do you have a question? Sorry, you were late.
We do.
No worries. No problem.
Sorry she was late.
Technical difficulties. No big deal. We'll be doing this again and again and again.
Hey, Kim, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
So we'll set up another one of these probably a couple times a month. We'll be hosting an informative discussion on your health and nutrition, and love to have you back to join us.
All right, well, Kim, I'll make sure you get it, my dear. Somehow, we'll figure it out. Hugs and kisses.
Okay, well, that's it for tonight. Let's get back to the screen. Okay. So, Sonia, again, thanks for joining me tonight. And
yeah, thank you, Randy. It was a lot of fun.
We'll end the recording, and I'll see if this actually worked.
All right, we'll see you later.